if you create a variable like an int, or like I, which is an int, this is a value type variable. In other words, int is a value type. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at our diagram here. Okay, so let's do the opposite, so to speak, of what we see here with this reference type variable. I'm going to create, actually I think that's the easiest way to do it. If I say int I, and as I said, int is a value type, it means I'm going to create some storage, and there's an identifier associated with that storage. In other words, that's the name I, and there's a type associated with that storage. And the storage itself goes on a structure in memory called a stack. So this is a value type situation. Conversely, if I say car C semicolon, then I create a box in memory, and the name or the identifier associated with that box is C, and we could say that the class or the type of that thing is car, but it doesn't actually point to anything. There is no real object. All we have is a reference variable. So remember that C, being of a class type, is a reference variable. It's not until we say C equals new car that this happens. And this storage is on the heap. And how those two types of storage works differently, stacks versus heaps, really doesn't make any difference. The point is it's in a different data structure. Okay, so this memory, the memory associated with this thing, is not allocated until runtime. So it's allocated dynamically. And this is a reference type situation. Okay, so we will see more of this as we go. But what you want to remember is that predefined types like int, you don't have to create the storage. It's created sort of intrinsically by saying int I. The storage you need for your int is created and you're done. On the other hand, when you create an instance of a class, that you don't actually get the storage. All you get is the reference variable. And then when you say new class name, or in other words call the constructor, it's only then that you get the storage for that thing, and that storage goes on the heap. And so again, it's called a reference type because the variable itself isn't the storage, it's just a reference to the storage. Okay, so that's value type versus reference type. And we will see this in a number of other places. So just to get the basic idea down, it will be helpful to you. Turns out that that's central to a lot of things in C#. Going back to our goals here, we talked about classes. We created objects from those classes using the new keyword and reference variables. We put methods in our classes, which were the action part of the classes. We added fields to our classes, which was the data or the storage or the state of the object. We added properties to our classes, which allowed us to modify fields, but in a safe and controlled way. So again, a property is halfway between a method and a field. And then for some of those methods and constructors, we added parameters. Value types versus reference types and constructors. Okay, so that is the lesson segment on classes. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next segment.